the meeting of the Downtown Development Authority to order. We'll start by saying the pledge. We actually have a flag we can look at this month, so everyone rise and this way. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item 2 on the agenda is approval of the minutes. We have the regular meeting minutes for November 26, 2019. Has everyone looked at Ronnie's minutes? Any questions about Ronnie's minutes?
Motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from Tuesday, November 26, 2019 for the DDA.
All those in favor?
Need a
Aye.
second.
Oh, we do need a second. Brian seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the executive session on the same night. Everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from the executive session. Any comments, questions, changes?
Motion to approve the executive session minutes from Tuesday, November 26, 2019 of the Downtown Development Authority.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Brian seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the chairman's report. Obviously, I'm the vice chairman. David did not tell me to report anything since he's not here. We'll move on to item 4, which is the financial report. Brian, Catherine?
All right, I will walk us through, if you look at the first page, gives an overview of our accounts. We've got $115,000 in change in the debt service account. We've got $55,000 in change in the operating account, $970 in change in the rent escrow, and we've got $3,000 in change in prepaid expenses. So that's really where we're at with the current accounts. Don't have any major issues to point out beyond that. So unless anybody has some questions, we can move on to the budget. Okay, moving on to the budget. I think this is mostly what we talked about last month. There was a couple changes. Some things were moved around. The big items that we've got are $150,000 in legal services budgeted for 2020. We've got $30,000 budgeted for advertising. And then the bulk of the unallocated funds were put into the building and fixture, or buildings and building improvements line item as a place to hold that pending decisions on which projects we'd like to undertake, if any. The one thing that is not yet resolved on the budget is really the first line, the City of Chamblee grants, the IGA. Dan is still going to look at how the IGA is structured and what we need to do to revise the agreement to lower the amount. I don't particularly have a problem with the amount as it's been discussed, but we do need to make sure that we revise the IGA appropriately before we adopt that. So I would propose that we adopt this budget pending resolution of the IGA.
I think that's a good idea.
Second.
Any questions or concerns before we vote on adopting the budget? Everyone feel comfortable? Good. All right. So we got a first and a second. All those in favor of approving the budget pending the outcome of the IGA discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So it passes. All right, moving on, item 5 is the branding committee. Last month we said we were going to put that on hold until an MOU was signed for the town center, so no new business there. Item 6, old business. I have not heard back from David. Can I just call him? This here.
Dick, what's going on there?
Hey, David. We got you on actual speakers right now, not just a phone, so hopefully everyone can hear you. We've started our meeting and it moved all the way to item 6, which is old business, and the first thing under old business is the Pruitt Health abatement. So we are at the point to discuss that. Catherine has given us all spreadsheets for a variety of different levels. I think at this point we need to decide at what dollar amount, and then we can approve that dollar amount and empower our chairman to create an MOU with any other fine points. But I'd like to tonight vote on an actual dollar amount based on the 3 options that Catherine showed us via email.
And there are a couple things I want to just reiterate from the staff report,
Okay.
just to clarify.
David, can you hear Catherine okay?
Can you hear me?
David, you still there?
You put us on mute?
All right, well, chime in if you can hear us.
Okay, I'll use the mic. That should be better. So it's the DDA's mission to promote the general welfare, trade, commerce, and industry and employment opportunities in the downtown district. Pruitt Health will relocate 529 jobs to the new facility with an average salary of $73,000. And their proposed building is sized to accommodate the growth of an additional 300 plus employees. This would make them the largest private developer or private employer in Chamblee. Right now, our largest one is around 350, which is Walmart. So just something to keep in mind. Our largest employers are obviously in the public sector. And just to emphasize that we've never considered 100% abatement with this situation. The county, school systems, and cities will continue to collect taxes on this. With the proposed staff recommendation, we have 55% for up to not to exceed 6.5 million. That would still provide taxes, which you will find in your packet, which is what I sent earlier this week on page 26. And remember to do page numbers this time.
Thank you.
Easier.
That's nice.
So if you look at that middle section for the 6.5 million tax abatement, if nothing was built on that property, after about 10 years, an estimate of 10 years, there would be $612,100 for in property taxes, whereas with this abatement at 55%, there would be close to 6.6 million in property taxes collected. So to put that in perspective, that's 10 times more than
Your credit card.
David, can you mute your phone?
Yeah, sorry, I'm back in the car.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So to put that in perspective, with a 55% abatement, the property will still make 10 times more the amount of taxes than if it just stayed the same.
You're saying a 55% abatement at which dollar amount?
That would not exceed 6.5 million.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The middle option.
So if you break that down, that's about, for the 529 jobs, it's about $12,000 per job, which is what we were at with Trackside when we gave them $3 million. Trackside's not there yet because they are building up to their 250 number.
The calculation you did, though, is when they get full,
That's correct.
because they're not bringing all their employees at once.
Trackside isn't.
No.
No, Pruitt is. Pruitt's
But I
immediately
thought there was going to be 500 jobs now and another 300 later on.
They have mentioned the potential for that, and they're building out.
You
the
were
building
using,
for that.
though, just the
I'm just
500.
using the 529,
Okay.
yeah. And so, given this, with this option, it's fiscally sound, it's more beneficial to the tax digest than if the property remained as today. Furthermore, a proposed office building of this size with over 500 jobs would strengthen Chamblee's local economy and contribute to the critical daytime population that is needed to fulfill the vision of a thriving downtown that was set out in the Chamblee Town Center LCI plan almost 20 years ago.
Thank you, Catherine.
All right.
David, do you have any comments to chime in?
So, I think I've talked to everybody by now. My sense is that we need to make sure that we tie whatever we do to something that is rational and dependable and that is numerically sound. I think that we take Catherine's staff recommendation, and I think we do discount that a bit because they're not the first Class A office space. And I think if we do that, we arrive at a number that everybody can live with. I am more in favor with doing a $6 million abatement for that period of time than the full 6.5, because I feel like that reflects some sort of reduction for not being the first ones in to the Class A.
Okay,
So that's sort of where I come down on it.
okay. Leslie, thoughts?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, let's make sure before you make the motion,
Sure.
anyone doesn't have any other comments?
The one thing that we have talked about that is not reflected yet is an agreement for parking on the ground floor of the parking garage, public parking, to request that as a part of the agreement.
Yeah, I think that definitely needs to be part of the MOU package that David can go, I mean, we can empower him to do that. I think tonight, what we just need to come up with is, you know, what that dollar amount is. You know, is it going to be 6.5 at 55%? Is it going to be 6, like David said, at 55%, or some other number? I do like the 55%. I think that's fair. You're basically saying, hey, we're going to abate some of it, but not all of it. It allows the city, the county, the schools to continue to get some money. And it also allows Pruitt to sort of plan their number, knowing how much. So the real question is,
I think we're
what
going
the-
about this backwards. Actually, we're supposed to have a motion before we have discussion.
Okay.
Okay? So let me go ahead and make the motion, and then we can continue this discussion.
Okay.
I motion a 55% abatement not to exceed, for Pruitt Health, not to exceed 15 years, no, for 15 years, not to exceed 6.5 million for Pruitt Health. So let me restate that. 55% abatement for 15 years, not to exceed 6.5 million.
Okay. I'm uncomfortable with that amount as well. As like David said, I think they're not the first one, Class A, to come in, and there's no reason to say we're going to give them that level. I get all of Catherine's numbers, and I like that she put that together, but I also would be happier with a slightly less number than 6.5. So we got a motion on the table. Is there a second for that motion, or any discussion for an amendment to that motion?
What is the motion right now? I didn't quite hear that.
The motion right now made by Leslie was to give a 55% abatement at a level of 6.5 million, not to exceed a 15-year time frame.
Not to exceed, yeah, 415.
Yeah, whichever's first. 6.5 or 15 years, whichever comes first.
And are we including a 10% administrative payment?
Yeah.
That is not on this sheet, but that is in your numbers, correct? So, David, it would include a 10% administrative payment to the DDA at 6.5 million with a 55% abatement. Leslie made a motion. To this point, we don't have a second.
Van, do you have a number that you would be more comfortable with?
I like David's thinking on 6 million. You discounted a little because we already have a Class A office, so they're not the first in the gate. So I like David's thinking on 6 million.
I feel there's a measure of punitive to that. So wouldn't it be great to have 2 Class A's?
Sure.
So,
We're going to.
I'm not saying that we wouldn't.
okay.
And I guess I'm still a little uncomfortable.
I have a point of order to ask Dan. Dan, since I'm running the meeting and David is not, is he allowed to second or make motions, or he can only vote?
He can do, it's as though he's physically present.
So he could second Leslie's or request to amend to a different option.
Yes.
Okay. Did you hear that, David?
Okay, so has Leslie adjusted down to 6 million, or is she still at
She's
6.5?
still at 6.5. The motion on the table right now is 6.5 million, 55%, not to exceed 15 years.
And you can suggest a friendly amendment.
If you want to suggest a friendly amendment, or Ronnie or Brian.
There's one other caveat I feel like I have to bring up because I feel like it wouldn't be fair otherwise. I have spoken to Robert Pond and Robert Smith. I know that they tend to fall on the lower side of where we are, or perhaps in the middle. I don't want to steamroll over the wishes of other members of the board because obviously we're all hearing about it, you know. I would like to reduce the amount down to $6 million if we feel like we have support for that. But if it is getting close, then we may want to consider tabling it until Robert can be here. I think the question is, Dan and Brian, I understand that you're down on the lower end tonight. Are you able to live with $6 million? Because that would be the majority vote if Robert and Robert were there. You get what I'm saying?
I can live with $6 million. Brian, can you live with $6 million?
I can live with $6 million.
So
Okay.
we still have a motion on the table with no second.
I would request that Leslie reduce her motion down to $6 million, if that's acceptable to Leslie.
Call it a friendly amendment.
If you want to, either you or Brian or...
I make a friendly amendment to reduce the amount to $6 million.
Accepted.
So we got a friendly amended...
Still need a second.
Second.
We still need a second. Can he second his own friendly amendment?
I'll second it.
Ronnie seconds. Ronnie, right now, David, we have a friendly amendment to $6 million at 55%, not to exceed 15 years. Ronnie is seconded. Any further discussion before we take a vote?
One quick question, how long does that particular abatement take to run out?
At 6 million, we're
well, she
estimating
doesn't-
about 10 years.
Yeah, at 6.5, it's 10 years. At 5.5, it's 9 years. So it's probably going to be somewhere in between.
Well, that's why it's safe to do 15, the 6 will come before the...
It will. The $6 million will most likely run out before they get to the 15th year.
Okay, when we do the table, do we want to cap that time period at 10 years, or somebody remind me how we did trackside? We did an amount with the cap on time, is that correct?
Dave, the way it would work in the MOU is that we would start an abatement at the 55% level. It would terminate as soon as either 15 years were reached or $6 million in savings were reached.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
So, it could be 10 years, or it could be 11, or it could be 12, you know?
Could be 8 if the value
It could
goes
be
up.
8 if the value goes up. But it should be around 10 years.
Okay, so I'd like Catherine to run that spreadsheet at 6, and then we gotta find a cap for that.
You don't like the 15 years as the cap?
No, I want to keep things tight. I want to incent them to get this done and not let that abatement ride any longer than it absolutely has to. If I want to put a cap so there's no funny business with them playing around with the completion dates and stuff like that, you know?
Can you address that in the agreement?
I think what we'll do, I think, David, if it's all right with you, what I'd like to do is let's go ahead and vote on the $6 million at 55%, not to exceed 15 years, and then we'll empower you to negotiate with them on the fine points of the MOU, so things like schedules and timing can be determined. Is that a good way to go about it?
As a reminder, our MOUs normally have a development schedule and a substantial failure provision. So we would set milestones, and if a milestone were not hit, then we could adjust the abatement at that point.
Will that work for you, David?
Yes, that will be fine.
Okay. So just to recap, we got a motion with the friendly amendment for $6 million at 55%, not to exceed 15 years. Any last discussion before we take a vote? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. It's unanimous. David, do you want to
All right.
Do you want to stay on the phone while we continue, or you want to drop off?
Yeah, no, I'll stay on the phone. I'm driving in.
Okay. Remember, if you're hit Chamblee, we're at the Civic Center, not at City Hall.
Thank you for the reminder.
All right, next on the agenda is item B, the SLX extension lung tree items and admin payment. Catherine, can you remind us of
Yeah,
what that's about?
We talked about this last month. We had a couple of questions about their administration payment and the calculation, which Dan has worked on today. Take one, pass it down. As well as the luxury items that we looked at last month. We wanted Chris to come in to talk about what's new, what's different, because they're both long lists, so we don't want to be the ones comparing the two. And then the question about the extension, we had approved it for 12 months instead of what we believe SLX wants at 15 months.
Okay.
So which one would you like to tackle first?
I mean, you gave us the sheet, why don't we start with the sheet?
All right. Dan, do you mind walking us through the tax calculation
Sure.
and the questions?
You may recall that we did get a report like we were supposed to, and there was, I think, a good faith effort made to track the MOU. But, you know, anything involving math in Excel is not straightforward as you might think it is, so it's understandable that there might be some differences. What I noticed in reviewing it was a few things, that among others, it appeared as though all soft costs had been excluded from the value, and normally it only excluded soft costs that weren't capitalized. Now, we got an email in late today, which apparently there was some dialogue that had caused it was party to it. I hadn't had a chance to think about that, but I think the MOU would require at least capitalized soft costs to be included in the value. There was a discrepancy in a deduction having to do with taxes paid. It's actually a figure in the MOU which should have been included. We had derived the CPI for 2019 and calculate the difference, which became the permitted increase, the deflator, actually. And so, long story short, what you have there is our calculation, which reflects a lawyer's view of how the MOU and Excel work together on this, except that I had put in the plug number for the soft cost $1 without change. So the difference is, the result is that the spreadsheet you have in front of you would reduce the amount of the credit basket by what's in row 23, $462,978.83. What we got from the developer, let me scroll up, we'll reduce it by, where is that? $499,102. So there's not, there's some difference, but it's not a lot of money.
$30,000.
Well, it's the difference between what you get when you subtract $499,102 from...
$37,000.
Okay, I can't do it without a spreadsheet. I used to be able to, now I have to have a spreadsheet. So it's that amount of money. And of course, that's not money that changes hands now. What this has the effect of is causing the abatement to burn off that number of dollars sooner. The calculation of the administrative fee, I don't think, changed. And the spreadsheet also contains a block for the extension fee, which has been handled by resolution, but needs to be handled by an amendment to the MOU, which we've discussed before. The per dollar fee is $5,000, which is clear enough. Which is not clear is the extension 12 months, in which case it would be over, or is it 15 months, in which case it would expire next year. So I think, I couldn't find any record, and I don't think Catherine could, of us voting on approving a 15-month extension base of 12. So that's one of the things that hopefully we can resolve tonight, and I can prepare a short amendment to reflect that, one way or the other.
I think, again, I can't read anyone's mind, but I think when we approved that, we said, okay, $5,000 a month. I don't think anyone was thinking about the time frame. So I don't know if anyone has a problem just saying, let's extend it another 3 months, from 12 months to 15 months.
I'm comfortable with 15 months.
Is that fine with you?
Do we need a motion?
You want
It takes a motion.
a motion? Because we only approved a 12-month, $5,000 a month, so what we need is to pass a motion to extend it another 3 months.
You could put it that way, yes.
Put it how you want, Brian.
Motion to extend the
Schedule
extension,
completion
the
date.
scheduled completion date by an additional 3 months for a total of 15 months
At $5,000.
at $5,000 a month.
Do I have a second?
15 months from the start date. Let's just go ahead and say what the start date is, so we don't run into
Want to
this.
rephrase it?
Well, what's the start
Or
date?
Leslie, since you got it, you want to?
It's actually more confusing to do it that way.
Really?
Is it?
There was some thought early on that we were changing the date of the MOU, which does exactly nothing, because there are dates in the body of the agreement. So really, the thing to do is to just change the stated completion date in the document, which is in the development schedule I mentioned a minute ago, so it's a later date. That's the extension. If we do that, then we can't change the abatement schedule for them not being in
So it really needs
compliance.
to be a motion to extend the completion date by another 3 months.
Yes.
So motion to extend the scheduled completion date by another 3 months for a total of 15 months at $5,000 per month fee.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so that takes care of the extension, but we still need to talk about the luxury items.
Well, the admin payment, are we good?
Yeah, we can bill, I mean, if I were the developer, I'd want to get the MOU amendment before I paid it, but it's payable immediately because otherwise they're in default. I think everybody knows what we're doing. And I'll turn the amendment around. I can't promise it this week, but I'll get it out next week. So, next week. It's
Okay.
something
On Christmas Day?
Yeah. If you could send us an email on Christmas Day, that'd be
Christmas
great.
Day?
I was working last year, so sure. I can actually call you what time.
Catherine, is that good with you?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the luxury items. What are we doing with that?
So we can ask Chris to come up and explain the changes. That's what we asked for.
Chris, come on up.
And just turn the button on the mic to, once you say green light, the microphone.
Okay, can you hear
There
me?
you go, perfect. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Could I get a copy of the list?
Sure.
So, good luck reading it.
Oh, yeah.
This is the original list.
Okay.
This is the new proposed list.
Go for it.
Yes.
Who printed that?
You see now why we were confused.
Okay, are there any questions
Well,
of
the
the
question
differences?
is, what has changed? What are you
Yeah,
proposing?
we don't care about the whole list, we're just curious as to what might have dropped off that was there before, or if there's something that was added that's better.
But then,
It's the timer for the time.
One thing that we changed, we have 2 courtyards in the backside of the building. And originally, they were going to be both designated as dog parks. So what we did was we created just 1 courtyard with a dog park, and then we created a crystal garden in the second courtyard with giant geodes, rocks, and we're going to light them up because we felt it was, they were right next door to each other and it would have been redundant. So that was a change in the amenities.
It looks to me like you have, in the first, under lifestyle services, you specify 24/7 doorman concierge. In the changes, you're not specifying 24/7, is that correct?
No, the changes, if you look, we've got 24/7 lobby concierge. I mean, it's basically like a doorman building. There'll always be somebody in the lobby.
Where is that?
Under exceptional, experience exceptional, the third.
Under resident services.
This is the new one.
Oh, okay,
You're looking at it.
okay.
Yeah, so down
all
there.
right, okay.
It's just moved down below rather than at the top.
What, this is a little strange.
There was
All
3
right.
versions.
That's why this is hard to understand. All right, I'm going to let you continue.
Wasn't there some change to one of your business tenants that was supposed to be along the backside where the rail trail was going to come.
Yeah, we now
Can you talk about
have,
that?
we have a dog groomer in the back. Pup and Cuts, they're in Brookhaven, so they're going to occupy the space in the back of the building. We also have, recently, we haven't signed them yet, but a pet vet that'll be next door to them. And we just had a meeting with the pet groomer because we're going to provide pet concierge services for the residents. So if you live in the building and you need your dog walked, they'll take care of it. If you want your dog picked up from your apartment and brought down for grooming, and then your dog brought back to the apartment, they'll do that as well. If you go on vacation, they'll pet sit your dog in your apartment.
You said you're going to have a pet vet?
Yes.
John, is that legal?
I'll have to review that.
I don't think that having a
It
veterinarian-
depends on if there's boarding. We'll have to.
No boarding.
Well, we
Still have to
can
review
look
that.
at that,
Was there any change? Some of the things we discussed early on with this project was inside the units, certain levels of, what do you call them? I don't know what you call them.
Finishes.
Finishes. Were there any changes to anything you did inside the units? Like if you're using different types of countertops or anything that we might need to be concerned with?
If anything, we've upgraded the finishes in the units. We still have the same flooring. It's a high-end plank flooring, Go House. We still have the quartz and granite countertops and backsplashes. The appliance package is still the same brand. We may have modified a model or two because it either didn't fit or it was discontinued, but we didn't downgrade anything. We still have a gas range.
Like I know the countertops were going to be white and green quartz and black granite.
That's the same.
That's all the same, okay. Anyone have any other questions about the amendments? So,
By the
Yes,
way,
if
the
everyone's looking-
models are finished now, they're furnished. We're going to start giving hard hat tours until the building's open. In a few weeks, we'll have the elevator running through the lobby, and the lobby should be ready as well. But we don't expect to move people in until February.
so I guess at this point, this list right here, that, that's the new list, if everyone could just look over.
That's 32.
Yeah, that one there. If you could just look at that and make sure that before, because we need to adopt this as the new amenities list, right, Catherine?
Yes, that's correct.
So if you have any questions or concerns about that list while we have it here, just make sure if you see something on there that you're concerned about.
What auto services are you speaking of in this list? Auto services and dedicated rideshare pickup, what auto services are you speaking of?
Other services?
Yeah, auto.
It says
Auto.
under experience exceptional.
Auto
services.
detailing. In other words, we have a group that'll come and service your car for auto detailing.
So there won't be a business there for
No.
auto detailing, that's just for the residents?
That's right, just for the
They-
residents.
Instead of them taking their car down to the local place?
Right.
They can have it done right on the spot?
Right.
And it says ride share, pickup, drop off, so you're gonna have a dedicated place for like Uber and
Correct.
Lyft and all that?
For deliveries and, you know, one thing we were hoping is that in the porte-cochere, you know, we might have some very high-end cars that would rather they keep them out there if they're going to a restaurant or visiting, where they could temporarily be out front under the porte-cochere. I know one of the issues was you just didn't want any vehicles seen from the street, from Beach Street. You look across the street and there's a Volvo dealer and there's 250 modest cars out there.
That's not, you can't make the comparison. That's an existing business. You're building a new one. So
Right,
that's-
right, but we think it would add class to the property if there's a nice,
I think that might be something we'd have to discuss later.
right, I'm just,
And I think that's a matter for the council.
Yes.
yeah, I'm
That's not for us. Let me ask you something. On the list of restaurants and shops, we've got Cafe Lucia, Barboca Restaurant, Orange Theory Fitness, Pup and Cups, Opulence Tanning Salon, Diesel Barber Shop, and Body Zillion Waxing. Are all those, you have signed leases for all of them already, or are any of those still?
well, Body Zigging Waxing, we have a signed lease. Diesel Barbershop, we had a signed lease, but just recently they canceled the lease. They broke it because it was like a franchise and he wasn't satisfied anymore because he has additional shops, so he's out. Opulence Tanning is in, Pup and Cuts, Pet Grooming is in, Orange Theory Fitness is in. Those are all signed leases. We have the Pet Vet, as I mentioned, that there's no signed lease yet. We're in the final stages. Barbacoa Restaurant blew up this week because they lost 2 valuable employees. So that restaurant space now is open. And Cafe Lucia, they blew up a week ago. The guy had some physical problems. We've got 3 bistros that are kind of fighting over the space, so we feel very good about that.
So the big question mark is the restaurant space.
Yeah, that's going to be the most difficult, until you're open and finished.
And I think that there are some questionable businesses like any provision of massage that's going to be up to the city, and auto detailing is going to be up to the city, and the vet is going to be up to the city. So those are not promises that you can make right now.
Okay, so
Whether or not
I don't see
those would be
massage. What
permitted.
massage?
now the massage isn't open. It's not a
That's not a
business
business,
for
I think still that you're going to have the discussion with the city about how that's presented before you make promises. That's all.
Okay.
I don't
But it's
wanna-
just private. You have to be a resident to be able to. Okay.
Yeah, you need to have that discussion. I'm not gonna, I'm just trying to be very careful of expectations that we may have
Right.
that may or may not be able to come to fruition, that's all.
Okay.
And that's not something that I can debate with you and don't want to. I would love it if you can offer everything that you have listed here. I would.
Okay.
I just think that there might be some issues, that's all.
I guess I've got a question about this, is that, well, one, if we adopt this new list, do we then lose the detailing of the apartment plans, finishes, and features? Because it's not on this list.
There was also I think there was another submittal with this page.
I don't have it.
There was a floor plan with the listing of finishes?
We didn't get that.
Or we don't have it now.
Or
Or
if
it's
we
not-
adopt this, we adopt it with everything not listed on here remaining the same.
And the other question would be is, of the things that are listed on this form, that are either no longer being planned or may not be allowed by the city, I mean, to me, I've got some concerns about adopting a list that's, as of this date, not accurate.
I don't know that we should necessarily do this tonight.
We can push it to next month. Are you able to have your people put together, I mean, what would be the easiest, Captain, for them to put together?
Yeah, if you
what-
guys could update the list,
And
have it
show-
totally inclusive of everything, make sure
Well,
that,
the only thing that would have changed from this list is the restaurant spaces. And if you look down below, there's an asterisk.
Well, no, I think what Brian is talking about, the original,
Well, I think you're missing a document that was supposed to be submitted as well,
Right.
which is now, this is an actual document that we plan to hand out to potential residents. We also have the floor plans. There's 17 different floor plans. each floor plan lists all of the features that you're looking for. In other
Got
words,
it.
the
I got you. I
appliance-
completely got you. Right now, we have a document that was in the MOU that had various lifestyle things. Some of
Right.
them are on your document that you're going to hand out that says, and some are not. For example, the ceiling heights and all that was in the original.
And that's on the floor plans.
Yeah, so I think the best thing would be to let us defer this, and if you could, the missing pages that you're talking about, if y'all could get those to Catherine, and then we'll vote on that in January.
Okay, the only thing, if we go back to the original list, the only thing that's not being included right now, intrusion security alarms are no longer being put into the apartments. Okay, that's not in the 8-foot entrance doors. We had to go with 7-foot because of the closures. It wasn't a decision we wanted to do, but physically it couldn't be accommodated. So they're 7-foot doors. But we do have the electronic access to them. The 2 lighted pet parks is down to 1. And that's about it, as far as everything else.
I think it would be very helpful if you could put that, or have your people put that in a document saying, here's the additional stuff that was missing.
You want it before and after?
And then here's the things that were on the original that we can't do, like the 7-foot,
Right.
8-foot doors to 7-foot, just so that when we vote on it, we know what the differences are between the two.
Right, the terrazzo floor became a marble floor in the lobby. It was actually more expensive, but we couldn't come up with the right colors of terrazzo.
I think that's all good. I think just for us to be comfortable, we need to see all that. And right
Okay.
now, we don't have enough data here to vote tonight.
No problem.
So, Catherine, if you could just work with them to get all that, so that next month we have everything we need to make a final decision.
Motion to defer until next month?
Second.
All those in favor of deferring to next month?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you for coming in. We appreciate
Thank you.
that. All right, moving on. Is there anything else on SLX, Catherine, or is that it?
That's it.
Okay, moving on to new business, we got our 2020 regular meeting calendar, which is in the back of the agenda packet,
Last page.
Yeah.
last page.
Similar to this year, so we have it, we are still meeting, I think, that week of Thanksgiving like we did this year. And then, say with December, we move it up to the previous.
Is everyone okay with that concept of meeting the week of Thanksgiving? Or would you rather modify the November meeting so that it's not the week of Thanksgiving?
I don't care, I didn't have any problem with it, I was fine with it, but there might
And
be.
I just know sometimes people go
Yeah,
on
we had
vacation.
a full meeting, so
Okay.
it worked out this year.
Then can we have a motion to approve this calendar?
Motion to approve the 2020 regular calendar, meeting calendar as submitted.
Ronnie seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, on to item 8, public comment. Do we have anyone from the public that wants to make a comment? No? You're welcome to say whatever you want. We will listen. No comments? All right. That is the last item on the agenda. I believe that Catherine wants us to go into executive session. We have a
Motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing or approving a real estate transaction.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.